Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review. I'm going to talk about the new 2024 film, Arcadian. 2 Nicolas Cage movies in 1 week. I don't know if I can stand the excitement. This was also just a random pickup. I had been eyeing it on Fandango at Home, which is the old Vudu service. It had been on sale recently, and it's available in 4K on streaming, but not on disc. And then I was walking through Walmart one day, and they had one copy of the disc left. It came out in July, I believe. And I picked it up, and the next day they completely wiped out that section, and they're all gone. So I guess I got one. Anyway, Arcadian is a co-production between the United States, Canada, and Ireland, produced by Saturn Films, which is Nicolas Cage's company. They also produced Longlegs, which was my previous podcast. If you haven't listened to that yet, go check it out. So, yeah, 2 Nicolas Cage movies in 1 week. And Arcadian, much different role for Nicolas Cage. He plays a father in a post-apocalyptic world, trying to raise his sons and trying not to get eaten by whatever creatures are outside the door. Movie opens with unknown city, war going on in the background. He's cradling 2 infant boys, telling him it's going to be okay. Then we cut to 15 years later. They're living in a dilapidated farmhouse that they're keeping up, that they lock up every night at dark. The first night, creatures try and get in. We don't know much about the creatures. We don't know about much what's going on. Through everybody's discussion, we find that there was a pandemic that wiped out most of the world. Society fell, and then these creatures kind of evolved out of necessity, out of the things that were happening in the environment at the time. And they don't really explain them, but they are kind of weird, and I got to say it's a pretty inspired design. Overall, they call this an action sci-fi horror movie. I'd call it more of an action coming-of-age movie with some sci-fi and horror elements. There's some gory stuff. The creatures are nightmare-inducing on their own, and some of the things that happen are pretty in the more thriller range. But overall, it's a father trying to raise 2 sons, one who's a little more introverted, one who's a little more experimental and goes out and stays out too late and that kind of stuff. And as it plays out, that's what makes it worth watching. The creature feature part is really good, and considering it's a low budget film, the creatures were done amazingly well. There was a lot more CGI than I thought there was. So I'll tell you that because I watched the extras after. All the acting is some of Nicolas Cage's best work recently. It's definitely not over the top like something like Longlegs. This is him playing a father who he gets injured part of the way through the movie, and the sons kind of have to fend for themselves kind of thing. I think it's all really well done. The camp, the other neighbors we meet, all decent acting there. The problems that happen and the rivalries and that kind of thing, all pretty realistic considering the post-pandemic, post-apocalyptic kind of world they're living in. It has a good, solid ending as well. Wasn't my favorite movie of the year, but I really find few flaws with it because this was somebody that had a good idea and a good script and a decent amount of money, and they were able to pull out a decent coming-of-age, exciting little tale about a family trying to survive in these times. And as that, I think Arcadian is a total success. It was a really entertaining film. When it was over, I wanted to watch the extras to see how they did some of that stuff. Like I said, all the acting is on par or better than Nicolas Cage. Jaden Martell and Maxwell Jenkins play the sons, approximately 16 years of age. I thought they both did a great job of being very different type of characters, produced from the same dad. Like I said, the creature designs are inspired. There's a lot of practical effects, and there was more CG than I thought. It's all done really well. I would say 98% of it, 95% of it looks fantastic and above the budget that this movie probably had. Filmed on location in Ireland. It's got some great scenic shots. The cinematography isn't up to something like Longlegs, but it's also not shooting for that. It's almost a B-movie feel, but they're not playing it for cheesy or for laughs. It is a serious story. It just, it almost feels a little rough and tumble compared to a lot of the other movies I've watched lately. But again, an independent film like that, with good performances and a good story and some good creature effects, all in all, when it was over, I was like, you know what? That was surprisingly good. So this sounds like something you'd like to see. Again, it's not going to change the world. It's definitely not up there with like The Creator on massively well done special effects for not a whole lot of money. But again, we're dealing with a Nicolas Cage movie, and one of the better Nicolas Cage movies I've watched recently. He seems to be bouncing around quite a bit, but hitting on more hits than misses lately, because this one and Long Legs, and what was it, a year and a half ago, he did the enormous Power of the Acting whatever that movie was with Pedro Pascal. A terrible title that's not memorable, but a funny movie and a fun movie. Maybe we'll get more like that out of Nicolas Cage going forward. Check out Arcadian. It's on some streaming services. I believe it's on Shudder and a few others. It's available on DVD and Blu-ray in the United States and 4K in other countries and on streaming services. Really not bad and really not too gory. If you're not, if you're a little squeamish, you don't like those kind of things, you could watch it. It's probably still in that PG range, except for a little bit of the violence. But all in all, decent one to watch with everybody. If it's a movie you've never seen, even better. It'll be a surprise. So go in kind of cold with nothing more than I've said in this, and you should have a great time with Arcadian, Nicolas Cage and the gang, defending themselves in a post-apocalyptic world. Check it out. Scott, I'm ROCKFILE. If you want to support the channel, the links are below. More podcasts are on the way. Thanks for listening.